Hi guys, Mitch here from Japanese Tools Australia, and today I wanted to run you through a couple of techniques to keep carving tools cutting really nicely. In terms of sharpening, carving tools can be quite a challenge because whereas chisels, plane blades are all nice, flat, straight, single bevels, carving tools do their own thing in their own way. So this set of carving tools is our Power Grip 7-piece, and this particular set was used in a carving class with Harpy Kittle, who carved Netscape with us earlier in the year. And in that class, students were provided this 7-piece set, as well as this 6mm double bevel marking knife. And with these tools, they achieved pretty much 90% of the work they needed to do on the Netscape. So of course, this set of chisels has not been sharpened since then because I've been running a little behind, but it's time to tune them up. So I thought I'd run you through a couple of processes. So in this set, we have a couple of U-gouges, a V-gouge, and some flats. Sharpening these profiles can be quite a challenge. So one option for sharpening carving tools are profiled multiform stones. So this example has 4 different radius curves in it, as well as an outside radius and a V profile. These stones can be really handy, and I would mainly use them when I've really lost an edge. And I really need to get an edge back on a tool. The problem with them is that none of your tools will ever exactly match these contours. So no matter what sharpening you do, finding that contour again is always going to be just a bit of an exercise in care and attention. If you are sharpening your carving tools regularly and keeping an edge on them, there's really no need to go that coarse or to be that drastic in the process. So a technique that I like to use that doesn't require much in the way of special equipment, is quite easy and quick to maintain an edge, is to use scrap timber and put the profile of the gouge into the timber before applying an abrasive. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the profile of my gouge that I want to sharpen into this timber. So I'm going to go with the grain and I'm going to just work it in. There we go. So there's one pass. There's 2 passes, get him out of the way. I'm just trying to knock the high points off there. So I have a profile that matches my tool quite closely, and I'm not going to need to work very hard to find the angle that I'm going to want to sharpen my gouge on. And when I put this in the profile, as I drag it back, most of that profile is in contact with my tool. So if I was setting something up and wanted to sharpen a heap of tools at once especially, I'd make sure I've got enough run on that I can really get in there. There we go. So then to this profile we add our abrasive, and what abrasive you apply is probably less important, just the fact that it'll cut. So Autosol in metal polish is one option. This is Japanese metal polish, and I think it's identical to any metal polish you can buy in Australia. But what I prefer to use is Waterstone grit. And one of the reasons I prefer to use Waterstone grit is I have lots of it. And all you need is a Waterstone. I prefer 1000 grit. The brand doesn't matter, just as long as you've got your stone loaded with water and a way to generate a slurry. So if you have a Nagura stone that you can scrub across the surface, that works perfectly. This is a diamond plate. I then generate a slurry on the Waterstone with the diamond plate, take that slurry and put it into my profile. So having a fairly dry slurry can be helpful, but sometimes it can be too dry and it'll be hard to get off the plate. So a little bit of water, there we go. And that'll give us really nice coverage and plenty of slurry. So as I work this slurry in this profile, it'll start out at about 1000 grit and it'll break down as I work it. So it'll end up a bit finer than 1000 grit, something like 2000 or maybe 3000, but I can find my bevel and pull it back. And as I inspect my edge, so what I'm looking for on the edge is to see if there's any sort of flat spots that are going to keep the light. I want the light to roll off my edge all at once. And I've got probably a little flat spot in each corner, so I'm just going to keep working those. And giving it 5 minutes of stropping on the timber with some Waterstone grit. is a great way to keep your edge nice and sharp, nice and maintained, without altering its geometry. If I was to take this and start to sharpen on a waterstone, there's a good chance that I wouldn't be able to manage my geometry, that I'd be taking quite a lot of materials. With a U-gouge or a V-gouge, it's really important that you don't change the geometry of the inside edge. So I'm working this outside bevel, but I'm not going to touch this inside edge onto anything more aggressive than a piece of timber, really. So I'm going to make sure that there's no burr, polish it up again, and I've got what is hopefully a nice edge. And I'll see what it's going to do. It's cutting nicely across the grain. There we go. And there we go. So this is cutting nicely again, and just with a few minutes on a piece of timber, I've got an edge that I can use again. So I'd label this to keep this with my large U, put in my small U and my V, label them, and keep this with my gouge set. And it's a great way to keep your bevels running nicely without making a big investment into lots of new sharpening equipment. So I hope that's helpful. Happy carving.